Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing today? Kindly confirm that you can see my screen. I want you to help confirm that you can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly by typing hi in the comment section so that we can get the session started. So if you can see my screen, you can hear my voice clearly. Kindly type in hi so that we can get the session started. Okay, so let me see some response in the comment section so that we can get this all started. All right, I'm loading up my chart right now and I'm trying to figure out if we are good to go. Okay, Carrie, good morning to you, Carrie. Thank you very much for that confirmation. Well, I'm fine, thank you, and trust you are doing well. Okay, all right, we have 3573. Good morning to you. 468, good morning. Roslan 222, good morning. Vivi, all right, bonjour. Okay, all right. Let's see this as a confirmation that we're all good to go. And on this note, I'm so excited to welcome you to yet another promising session on the Extreme Speed Life Hub. My name is Sheriff Daramola, and in the next 1 hour, I shall be your host, where we shall be embarking on a trading journey, where we shall be evaluating the financial market using technical parameters to identify trading opportunities lining up for us today. Well, it's our culture here that the first thing we do is to go through all the pairs we have been monitoring since Monday. So we have a couple of pairs that we have been monitoring since Monday. So the first thing we are going to be doing today is to go through all those pairs, look at how well they are doing, and if there are any advices or suggestions, I will be sharing them with you during the course of the session. And I will suggest that you stay tuned in so that you don't miss out on any of these ideas that I will be dishing out for today. So with that being said, let's dive into the market and let's see what is going on in the market right now. So before we go into the details on the charts, that is before we go into the technical analysis, the first thing I want us to look at here is the economic calendar. Remember yesterday I told you that we shall be looking forward to some very high important events that has a tendency of serving as a catalyst for price movement. And in the last 1 to 2 hours now, we have seen the publication from the S&P Global for the Eurozone, for Germany, and for the UK zone as well. And all of this results came out very positive. As you can see here for the Germany, we have about 2.04 deviation from the consensus, and we have 4.08, which is quite positive. And is that going to be a bullish momentum for the euro this morning? Well, we are going to be looking at what is going on the charts to decipher if this is going to be a bullish momentum. Then we also have for the UK session, for the UK, we also have the S&P Global publication. Also, it's also a very positive result, which has a 0.67 deviation from the consensus, which is also a very positive one. So are we going to be seeing a bullish momentum on the GBPUSD? Well, we are going to be looking at the charts, because one thing I always like to state here is that most of these events, the key players in the market are already aware of what the data of the event is going to be like. And on the chart, you are going to be seeing price movements, and these key players are already in anticipation of this. They already know what is going to happen. So we are going to be looking at how this event is reflected on the chart to further make a decision on this one. Then the next one we are going to be having today, which is coming up in, I think, an hour and a half from now, is the durable goods order, which is going to be the US economic docket. So we are going to be seeing that in an hour So in an hour 30 minutes, I think 2 hours 30 minutes from now. Then we also have the non-defense capital goods order also coming up in that time. And then we have something from the FOMC. The minute for last month is also going to be published in, I think, 8 hours from now. This is also a very high impact event that participants in all the major peers will be looking forward to decide where price might be heading. And obviously we are going to be seeing this anticipation reflected on the chart as price action. So with this being said, let's dive into the charts and let's see what is really going on in the market right now. And the first pair we are going to be looking at today is, as usual, the US oil. Okay, I can see Innocent Babe in the house. Good morning, Innocent Babe. How are you doing today? I'm very well, thank you, and trust you are doing well. I didn't see you yesterday. Hope you are doing fine. All right. Okay. So let's dive into the chart, and the first commodity we are going to be looking at this morning is the US oil. And if we look at the current structure we have here on the US oil, we can see that we are already in profit here. Remember, we were at this point yesterday when I told you that we could be buying the US oil here right above the $80 area, and since yesterday price action has moved over how many pips now? Let's see, has moved over 140 pips in profit right now. So for those who are taking advantage of this move, those who are joining me in enjoying this momentum that we have been since yesterday, kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of that move. So at this point in time, the next thing we want to be doing here is to lock in our profit. Well, I have a structure around the $81 area, which has been a level that has been holding buying pressure at one point in time last week before we witnessed the breakdown of that structure on Friday last week. And right now, price has climbed right above that structure at this point. So what I would be suggesting us to do is to give some room for price action to move around. So we want to be moving our stop loss somewhere right below the $80.80 level, somewhere around here, right below the structure here, to protect our position, as we don't know if this bullish momentum is going to be continuing to the upside in such a way that it's going to break out of that bearish trend line. Remember, we had this bearish trend line that has been holding selling pressure since the later part, in the last 2 weeks now. I remember this bearish trend line was holding selling pressure for us last week. We took advantage of selling pressure right below this trend line, and it appears price is heading closer to that level. So we want to see if this momentum that started yesterday is going to break out of that trend line, which also lines up with a very important structure at around the $82.40 level. Remember, this level was broken last week and we had a retest of that structure, and since last week price has been trading below that level, emphasizing the strength of the sellers at this point. So we want to be seeing how price action is going to be relating to the structure here. And we can see the structure here also shares a confluence with the bearish trend line. And look at what happened here during the New York session yesterday. We saw another sharp rejection of that level, and price appears to be heading closer to that level. So let's see if we are going to be having a breakout or a breakout, and if a breakout happens, a retest of structure followed by buying pressure right above the $82.40 level should be giving us another opportunity to add more position to our existing trade here on the US oil. So that is the first scenario we are going to be looking at on the US oil. Then the other scenario is a possible situation where we will continue to see bearish momentum right below that bearish trend line, which also shares a confluence with the $82.40 level in such a way that we might see a retest of structure followed by selling pressure on our lower time frame to send price crashing further to the downside. This is a possibility also we want to be taking into consideration during the New York session today. So these are the two scenarios we shall be looking forward to at this point. Now, considering the fact that price has been trading right below the $82.40 level, and throughout the course of this week, price has been unable to break above that structure. We saw the first touch here during the New York session yesterday, and during the early hours of today we can see attempts by the buyers to push price to the upside, but price is yet to break the previous high. Here we can see multiple rejection around the $82 level, and we might be seeing a bearish momentum continuing from this area in such a way that we have a structure that will evolve into a reversal pattern in the form of a double top structure. So we can see the impulsive move that took price right into the $82.40 level yesterday. Then we saw price came back into the $80.50 area. We saw attempts by the buyers to push price further to the upside, and we are yet to see a breakout of the previous structure here, and this might likely evolve into something like a breakdown retest to send price crashing to the downside. So because of this possible bearish momentum that we might be seeing here on the US oil, I will be advising us to move our stop loss accordingly, lock in some profits right around the $80.60 area, which I told you earlier. Okay, $80.70 area right below that structure. And let's see if we are going to be taken out of the structure, and if we are taken out of the structure, further selling pressure right below this level at the $81.10 area should be insinuating bearish momentum at this point. So that is the scenario we are having here on the 1 hour time frame. In order to have a better perspective, it is also appropriate that we look at what is happening on the daily time frame so that we can confirm that the structure we have here on the 1 hour time frame is in alignment with whatever situation we have on the daily time frame. So in order to do this, we'll quickly run through the daily time frame. Let's see what is really going on from a holistic perspective, after which we'll come back into the 1 hour time frame and figure out the parameters that we shall be using to guide our trading activity for today. So right here on the daily time frame, the first thing we observe here is that price action has been on a long-term bullish momentum in the last 2 years, and as a result of this, we were able to connect a series of higher lows here to give us that resultant bullish trend line, which I was able to identify I think a couple of months ago on this chart. And now with this information we have here, the next structure we want to be taking into consideration from a long-term perspective is the very important key level at the $85 area. And if we look closely into the structure, we can see how the $85 level has been a major determinant of price action in the last 3 to 4 months. Look at what happened here in the month of August. We saw buying attempt from this area, which pushed price right back into this bearish trend line here. Then during the month of September, we saw selling pressure, which finally took price breaking down the $85 area, and throughout the month of September, price has been trading below the $85 level to emphasize the strength of the sellers at that point. However, during the first week of the month of October, the decision by the OPEC Plus to cut oil production reflected on the chart as a bullish momentum, which took price out of the $85 level, breaking out of the bearish trend line here to bring price right back into the $93.50 level. And what we saw here was a bearish momentum from that level, which came in the form of a retest of structure with the hopes that we might be having another wave of a bullish momentum that will break out of the $93.50 level to join the rally to the upside. But unfortunately for the bulls, this did not happen, as we saw price come back into the $93.50 level, a level which has been holding selling pressure in the past. Then we saw reversal pattern here, followed by selling pressure in our lower time frame. And remember, we took advantage of this bearish momentum as price continued to the downside. Not only to the downside here, it went back into the $85 level, then it broke that structure during the course of last week's trading session, bringing price right back into the $76 area. And if we look at what has been happening around that level since last week Friday, we can see that we have been noticing buying pressure around this area. And if we look closely into the candle structure here on Friday, and on Monday we can see we have something that looks like an hammer candle, and from a technical standpoint a hammer candle is more or less reflecting bullish tendencies in this market. And if we look at where this candle is right now, we can see that this area has a memory for buying power in the past. If we go to as far back as the month of September, we saw our buyers use this area as a niche for buying possibility here. Then we saw what happened here again during the later part of the month of September. We also saw buying attempt from that area, which pushed price to the upside at this point. Excuse me. So going into the New York session today, what we are going to be looking at is how price action, our participants in this market will be relating to the structure one more time. So at the beginning of the week, we are looking at a possibility that we might be having a situation where we could have a bullish momentum, which might be temporary at this point, considering the bearish momentum that has gripped this market in the last 2 to 3 weeks now. That might lead price back into the key level at the $85 level or the bullish trend line. Remember, we had the structure broken last week, and from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakdown of a structure like this, we expect that one point in time price is likely going to come back to do a retest of that structure, which is likely going to happen this week. We never can tell. As we can see, we still continue to monitor the buying pressure that we are in right now from that demand zone, and if price comes into the structure, we want to see how price will be relating to that structure. Are we going to be seeing a reversal pattern that will evolve into selling pressure on lower time frame right below the $85 level to send price crashing to the downside, or we could be seeing buying pressure around here to push price right above that bullish trend line one more time to send the second wave of the bullish momentum that started last month. So these are the scenarios we want to be looking at as we head into the New York session today. So what we want to be doing right now is to scale back down into the 1 hour time frame. Let's see what is really going on around here. Sorry, there's another scenario that is likely going to be happening here, and that is we might be having a trend continuation pattern around here. We could be seeing a consolidation phase around this area, leading to the breakdown retest of structure to send price crashing further to the downside, taking out all the buy position that we have noticed around this area. So these are the 3 scenarios that is likely going to be happening here during the later part of this week. So what we want to be doing now is to scale right back down into the 1 hour time frame. Let's see what is really happening around here. Is this bullish momentum that we took advantage of yesterday going to take us to the upside, or are we going to be having a situation where we will be taking out of our position to incite a bearish momentum? So this is what we are going to be looking at. So let's scale down to the 1 hour time frame and let's see what is really going on in that juncture in this market. So right back to the 1 hour time frame, and remember I told you earlier on that we took advantage of a bullish momentum here yesterday, and we've already moved our stop loss accordingly right below the structure, as we want to see how price action will be relating to this bearish trend line. So we have the bearish trend line figured out that has been holding certain pressure for the past 2 weeks here. So if price continue to trade and price drops below the $81.10 level, I am of the opinion that we might be having a bearish momentum continuing to the downside from this level. So what are we going to be looking at as we head into the New York session? How can I make our trading easy so that we can be able to take advantage of any opportunity that will likely happen from this area? So the next thing I will be doing here is to bring out my line chart. Remember, we have been noticing this higher lows here, though we had a little breakdown of the $79 level and immediately price climbed right back up. So what I'll be doing here is to bring out my line chart and let's connect the series of lower highs here to give us that. I will be calling this a temporary bullish trend line in the meantime here. Let's see how this is going to work out for us for this week. If it's going to continue to hold buying pressure, how are we going to be having a breakdown of the structure? So going into the New York session today, we have a very simple structure that should be guiding our trading activity for today. So now what are we going to be looking at on this chart? So we're going to be looking at a possible situation where price probably comes back down here, then buying pressure right above the $81.10 level, breakout of the bearish trend line, retest of structure, followed by buying pressure, then we could join the rally to the upside. That is one scenario we are going to be looking at. Remember, we are already in this position. We're locking our profit here. Then the other scenario is a situation where price breaks down that bullish trend line here. So if we have a breakdown of this bullish trend line, well, at this point I want to be seeing this as a bearish signal. Remember, we are not getting too excited at this point because this might likely turn out to be a false breakdown. So we really want to be patient enough to wait out for the market to give us that further confirmation that sellers have actually come in. So what we are going to be looking forward to is price coming back to do a retest of this bullish trend line. Remember, whenever we have a breakdown of the structure, we want to scale down to our lower time frame, look out for retest of structure, selling pressures on our lower time frame, then we could actually take advantage of that bearish momentum to the downside, with the take profit target still remaining right around the $76.50 level, which has been that take profit target we used at the beginning of this week. So if that happens, we should be looking at something, we should be looking at around a minimum of around 400 to about a maximum of 550 pips to catch here if price moves in that direction. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to during the New York session today. And another thing I would like to emphasize here is the fact that when we take this impulsive move into consideration, we saw this impulsive move and this turns out to be a reversal pattern in the form of a breakdown, retest of structure to the downside. I would like to bring out my retracement tool here, run it through the previous impulse leg around here, and we should be aiming at somewhere within the 50 and the 78.6% as a possible area where this retracement phase might end. So if we are selling, I told you to move your take profit target to somewhere around here, but as soon as price comes into the structure right within the 50 and the 78.6, what we want to be doing is to lock in our profit right around the $80 area, and let's see how price action will be relating to the structure around here. We could have a situation where reversal pattern in the form of a probably double bottom structure, just an example by the way, that might start another wave of a bullish momentum. So these are the scenarios we want to be looking at. So let's have this area as our our possible buy zone. So we say, let me limit a potential buy zone area for seller, for buyers rather. So potential buy zone. So as soon as price comes within this level, we want to lock our profit somewhere around the $80 level or below the $80 area, or it could be around this range. Anywhere around this range is most appropriate. Let's see how price action relates to the structure while we continue to monitor if price will come back into the steepy target before another bullish wave might happen here. So this is my scenario on the US oil. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section, and let's see how I can be of help in that regard. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the charts and see if there are any questions before I move on to the next pair. All right, so what do we have here? I can see, all right, Innocent, be glad to hear you are doing fine. You're welcome. All right, okay, so we have Cobra T, good morning. Camel Love, good morning. 3890, good morning. Susie MB, how are you doing today? All right, so I want to assume that this is well understood, so let's be on standby to take advantage of any of this opportunity that might be coming in during the New York session today. So that is that on the US oil. So let's move on to the next commodity, I think option. So the next option is the US tech, and in fact it's a very positive news for us on the US tech, as we were able to take advantage of a bullish momentum here yesterday. And where were we as at the live session yesterday? We were around hold on a second, we were around here. We were around here yesterday, right below the 11,600 area. And one thing we said here, remember, we have been enjoying this bearish momentum since last week as price has continued to find lower lows and lower highs. And when we look at the structure, the breakdown of the $11,700 area was a very good sign for us that sellers are still very strong in this market. So we saw the breakdown of the structure on Friday. Price came back to do the retest of the structure during the early hours of this week, and that was another good opportunity for us to add more position to our existing trade. So let me quickly scale up to the daily time frame so that I can show you how important the $11,700 has been in the last couple of months now. So when we scale back up into the daily time frame, what do we have here? Well, let me quickly run through this. On the daily time frame, we can see that we have been on a long-term bearish momentum, and as a result of this, we had this bearish trend line figured out after connecting the series of lower highs. However, something interesting happened here in the month of June, and as soon as sellers tried to break down the $11,000 area, we saw attempt by the buyers negating all selling pressure around this area to push price to the upside. Fast forward into the month of September, again we saw the same scenario as buyers tried as much as possible to negate all selling pressures, as it appears that participants in this market were seeing the $11,000 area has a cheap zone to buy the US tech. So this also happened here, but the buying pressure here in the month of September wasn't strong enough. As you can see here, we had selling pressure negating all buying attempts here at around the $11,700 mark. So this is the level I was trying to explain to you on the 1 hour time frame. I said this level is a very important structure we need to look at as we continue to think of taking any trading activity here on the US tech. And look at what has been happening around the $11,700 level in the last couple of months. We saw that as soon as price got into this area, we have been witnessing selling pressure right from that area. In fact, the selling pressure even shifted the demand zone further to the downside to somewhere around the 10,600 10,500 area. So we saw buying attempt from this area. Price came back here again. We saw selling pressure. Not until 3 weeks ago we saw this engulfing candle springing out of that demand zone, breaking out of the $11,700 a little bit to the upside. And throughout the course of last week, we saw a situation where buyers tried as much as possible to be comfortable right above the $11,700 area, but this was negated by selling pressure as the structure we saw here evolved into a reversal pattern. And when we scale down, evolved into a reversal pattern, and the $11,700 level served as a neckline of that reversal pattern. So when we scale down to a much lower time frame, let's say the 2 hours or the 3 hours time frame, we begin to see things more clearly, as we saw the reversal pattern, which appeared in the form of a head and shoulder pattern. So we had this impulsive move right here, price from the left shoulder, and we saw the head here. Price came back into the neckline area at 11,700. So we saw the right shoulder, and then we saw a final breakdown of the neckline area to give us a confirmed head and shoulder pattern. And from a technical standpoint, this is more or less a strong reversal pattern, as you can see here. So we have the neckline, the very important key level we identified on the daily time frame, serving as a neckline of that reversal pattern. So we saw the retest of structure, another good sign to sell. We saw the breakdown, we sold right here, and we joined that bearish momentum right back to the $11,500 level. So let me scale down to 1 hour time frame, and let me show you what we identified yesterday at around the $11,500 area. So scaling down to the 1 hour time frame here, after we have been enjoying this bearish momentum since last week, and we joined again this week, we saw that as soon as price gets into the $11,500 area, we saw buyers try to negate all selling pressure around that area. The same thing happened here during this week. On Monday, we saw another attempt by the buyers to negate all selling pressure. We saw the same thing happen here a couple of days ago. And during the live session yesterday, I told you that because of this structure we are seeing here, we shall be putting any attempts to add more position to our sell position, as we want to see price break down this area to give us a signal that the sellers are still strong in this market. So I told you yesterday that we should be moving our stop loss to somewhere right above the $11,600 area, somewhere around here, which also lines up with that bearish trend line that has been holding selling pressure since last week. So I told you that we should move our stop loss to this area, as we saw how buyers have continued to get stronger right above the $11,500 area. And I told you one thing yesterday, that if price breaks out of that key level at 11,600, a retest of structure should be giving us a confirmation to join the rally to the upside. And this is exactly what happened here. We saw the breakout of that 11,600, retest of that structure on our lower time frame. Price took us out of our sell position with about how many pips? Let me see how many pips that was. That was about 72 pips thereabout, which is not bad anyways, better than being in a loss, right? So we had the break. Price took us out of that structure, and since yesterday price has moved significantly well in that direction. And right now, if you are taking advantage of that opportunity right above the $11,600 level, you will definitely be in about over 140 pips in profit at this point. So for those who are taking advantage of this move, kudos to you. Congratulations for being on standby to take advantage of that move. So what we want to be doing at this point is to lock in some profit here. Let's move our stop loss accordingly so that we don't get caught out in any sudden scenario that might likely take us out of this position. So one thing I'll be suggesting here is somewhere right below the $11,700 area is most appropriate to lock in your profit. So move our stop loss somewhere around that area seems very, very good at this point. Remember that $11,700 level has been a major determinant of price action, so it has been a very strong and key level for participants in this market. So during the early hours of today, we saw the breakout of the $11,700 level. Price came back to retest that structure, followed by buying pressure right above that level, giving us another opportunity to add more position to this trade. Did anyone take advantage of this move? If you are taking advantage of that move, kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of that move. Ensure your stop loss is right below the $11,700 level. Let's give room for this market to play out here. So for those who are taking advantage of this move this morning, you will be in about, let's see, 30 pips in profit. Not bad anyways. Now move your stop loss to break even. Let's move it to break even. So even if price takes us out of that structure, we are not going to be closing in a loss. So with that being said, let's see what is going to be happening today. Is the market going to give us a second chance, especially for those who missed out on both of this opportunity here, the opportunity we took advantage of here, and the opportunity we took advantage at the breakout retest of the 11,700. Let's see if the market is going to be presenting another opportunity to join this rally to the upside. So now, with a structure figured out at around the $11,700 mark, there is another structure you would observe if you look at this current structure closely. Now look at where price started this week. We saw the situation where price started the week at around the 11,700 and 11,720 level. So we saw selling pressure right above this level. So this level was where price started this week before we started seeing that bearish momentum happen here. So the first thing I'll be doing here is to signify that structure. You can see that level, so it's around the $11,725 level, a very good psychological level as well. So let us label this area for the sake of clarity. So we have the $11,725 level, so let's place it right on the right hand side of our screen. So I want to give this a blue color to differentiate it from the previous structures we identified earlier. So we have the 11,725. So this has been the resistant level since the beginning of the week, and if you look closely into how this level has been respected in the past, you can see it has also been a major determinant of price action. So during the course of the New York session yesterday, we saw attempts by the sellers to push price further to the downside, but it appears the selling pressure here has reduced. As we saw during the early hours of the day, we finally witnessed the breakout retest of the structure. So at this point in time, I will be suggesting that anywhere right above the 11,725 area is also another opportunity to add more position to this trade. So right above the structure, since we've already seen that price has broken out of the structure, so I will be suggesting that when price breaks out of the structure like this, let's continue to look out for buying opportunities right above this level. And as soon as price continue to move in our favor, kindly move your stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit, as we don't want to get caught up in any sudden pullback that might happen here. So that is one scenario that we are looking at this point. And I also want to call our attention to a possible setup that might lead into price coming further down to break down the $11,700 level, retest of structure to bring price right back into the structure that was broken yesterday. So we have two structures that was broken yesterday. We have one here and we have another one here that might likely push price to the upside. So we have two structures, and what do I mean by that? Look at what happened here yesterday. We saw the breakout of the bearish trend line that has been holding selling pressure since last week, and we also saw the breakout of the very important key level at the $11,600 level. So from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakout of a structure like this, we expect that at one point in time, price is likely going to come back, either do a retest of the structure to incite another wave of a bullish momentum. So we have two structures here, one at the 11,600 and one around the 11,500 area, which also lines up with the demand zone that has been holding buying pressure since last week. So these are the scenarios that we are going to be looking at. That is, if price takes us out of our buy position in such a way that it drops further to the downside, then a retest of structure happen. We might want to take advantage of that selling opportunity after citing selling pressure right below the $11,700 level to the downside. So that is one scenario we shall also be looking forward to during the New York session today. So that is that on the US tech. I think if you have any questions, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section, and let's see how I can be of help in that regard. So with that being said, I would like to move on to the next pair. And the next pair we are going to be doing right now, I'm already running out of time. I have 20 minutes left, so I will try as much as possible to make sure that I run things very fast and at the same time make things a little bit easier for us to comprehend, so that we can be able to take advantage of that opportunity when it happens during the New York session today. So I can see Steamroller in the house. Good morning, Steamroller. How are you doing today? I'm very well, thank you, and I trust you are as well. All right, I'm glad you are. Let's see how today goes by. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's move on to the EURUSD. And on the EURUSD, sincerely speaking, I am still expecting a bearish momentum here, despite the fact that we started seeing buying pressure since Tuesday on this one. And for me at this point, I am seeing that buying pressure as a retracement of the impulsive move that started last week. And I shared this on my public platform this morning, and I shared it that I still continue to look out for selling pressure right below the 1.03150 level. So let's quickly run through what our expectations was yesterday. So on this pair, at the beginning of the week anyways, we had the situation figured out where we saw how price action was caught within a consolidation phase right within the 1.04450 level, which was the resistant level last week, and the 1.03150 level, which was the support level for last week. So we had a very huge consolidation phase here, hereby emphasizing the indecision in this market. And one thing that also made the structure very interesting to look at is the reversal structure that I was able to identify around this area. Look at what happened here. We had this reversal pattern figured out with the 1.03150 level, which was the support level last week, serving as the neckline of that reversal pattern. And with a reversal pattern, identified here, we want to be using as our neckline as a yardstick for trading opportunity. And how do we trade this? We want to see a breakdown of that neckline to give us a sign that this reversal pattern is mature and that selling pressure is likely going to be happening from this juncture in this market. And this is exactly what we saw during the beginning of this week. We saw the breakdown of the structure and we took advantage of this move right here as price moved significantly well into the 1.02240 level with about how many pips in profit? Over 90 pips in profit before we started seeing reversal patterns around this area, which incited this bullish momentum, which at this point in time I want to be seen as a retracement move of the impulse leg that started last week. And in addition to the parameters that we wanted to be using to guide our trading activities for this week is this very important bearish trend line here. After we connected the series of lower highs since last week, we were able to identify that bearish trend line, and we said we shall be using that trend line as our yardstick for trading opportunities for this week. And look at what has happened here. Price is right back at the bearish trend line here, which also lines up with the 1.03150 level, giving us a clue of how important that area is at this point. So definitely what we want to be looking forward to do around this area is selling the EURUSD right below the 1.03150 level to be comfortable in any selling position at this point. So right now we have a position triggered around this area, so I hope that price will continue to the downside with this kind of scenario here. So I would like to be having a huge stop loss around this area, which will be lining up with around the 1.03750 level. So even if price takes us out of this position, I told you yesterday that I will still continue to look for selling opportunities here as we have a sell window identified around this area, which lines up with that very important key level at the 1.03750 level. So for those who missed out on the early session that we had this week where we identified the 1.03750, let's quickly scale up to the daily time frame so that we can have a peep into how important that 1.03750 level is, so that we can also take this into consideration while thinking of trading the EURUSD. So now look at what we have here on the daily time frame here. As you can see, we can see our price action has been on a long-term bearish momentum on the EURUSD's daily time frame. And if we look at the structure, we were able to connect the series of lower highs here to give us that resultant bearish trend line. So we had a bearish trend line figured out here after connecting the series of lower highs here. But that is not really the most important structure at this point. The most important structure at this point is the area around the 1.03750 level, which I shared with you on the daily time frame. Remember? Hold on a second. I think I just went out of internet service, so I will try to switch my my router to the second one. So I hope I'm back live on right now. So kindly confirm if you can still hear me right now. I'm sorry about that. I just had a quick my other router went out, so I had to switch to my second router. I hope everything is fine right now. I hope you can hear me and you can see my screen. If you can, please kindly type in hi in the comment section so that I can know that we are all still on the same page. So so that is that. So we are right back on the daily time frame. I wanted to show you how important the 1.03750 level is, and that was why we had to scale back up into the daily time frame so that we can see what is happening here. So look at what we have here on the daily time frame. So we saw how the 1.03750 level has been a major determinant of price action. In fact, since the month of May, we saw how this level was holding buying pressure at one point in time, and then we saw again in the month of June this level was holding buying pressure again before we witnessed a final breakdown of the structure in the month of July. And when the breakdown happened in the month of July, since then price has continued to trade right below the 1.03750 level to emphasize the strength of the sellers at this point in the market. So we saw the same thing happen here in the month of August, and as you can see right now, price has been consolidating around that same level in the last 2 weeks. So at this point in time, when we scale down to a much lower time frame, we begin to see a reversal pattern around here, which led into the final breakdown of the 1.03750 level, which also lines up with the bearish trend line to give us a signal that there is a tendency that sellers might likely push price to the downside one more time. And if we look at the structure, we might see that we might be looking forward to another respect of this bearish trend line again, as this level has also been respected in the past. So now, going into this new week, we were looking at a situation where we really want to understand what's really going on around here. So a couple of weeks ago, I think like 4 weeks ago, we had this impulsive move that finally broke out of that very important key level at the $1 mark area. And whenever we have an impulsive move like this, we always expect that at one point in time, there is a tendency that price will go through a retracement phase, which is going to be a reflection of profit-taking activities. That is, those who took advantage of this bullish momentum that started 4 weeks ago, which might lead into a retracement back into either the key level here at the $1 mark. And if we look closely into how that structure is right now, we can see that it shares a confluence with the bullish trend line that has been holding buying pressure since the month of September. So we can see this area, if price continues in such a way that it comes back into this level, we want to be looking at how price is going to relate to the structure. Probably we might be having buying pressure around this area that will be inciting a bullish momentum to the upside, or we could be having a breakdown of that structure where a retest could send price crashing further to the downside. So this is one of the scenarios that we were looking at the beginning of the week. And the other scenario that we were looking at is a situation where we could have a trend continuation pattern around here that will incite another breakout of that trend line, which also lines up with the 1.03750 level, retest of structure followed by buying pressure on lower time frame to join the rally to the upside. So these are the scenarios we are looking forward to, but currently speaking, we have a situation running right now on our lower time frame, as we can see certain pressures right below the 1.03750, and this is more or less a sign that we should be thinking of selling the EURUSD. So unless price breaks above the 1.03750 level, we continue to look out for selling pressure here. But if price breaks above the 1.03750 level, then we want to be patient enough to look out for confirmation that buyers have come to stay. So now let's go back to the 1 hour time frame. Let's see what is really going on here, and let's make a decision for today. So going back to the 1 hour time frame here, and what do we have? So when we go back to the 1 hour time frame, I'm trying to load up my chart here. All right. What is happening here? I think I'm having a lag time. So I think let me switch back to my second router and see how this plays out. Sorry about that. Okay. So I'm back on my second router. I hope we can see my screen and you can hear my voice. If you can, type in hi in the comment section so that I know that we're on the same page. All right, so we are back on the 1 hour time frame right now. On the EURUSD 1 hour time frame. Okay, so like I said on my earlier run, I said we continue to look out for selling pressure right below the 1.03750 level, and if price continues to the downside in such a way that we have a breakdown of this bullish trend line that we figured out yesterday. Remember, we figured out this bullish trend line yesterday. So if we have a further breakdown of that structure, which also lines up with the 1.02700 level, then that's another opportunity to add more position at a retest of either the 1.02700 level or the bullish trend line here, with selling pressure on our lower time frame. Then we could join that decline to the downside. So our take profit target still remains right around the 1.0200 level and the $1 mark area, which I said we shall be looking at how price is going to relate to the structure. If price comes within this level, we want to move our stop loss accordingly so that we can protect our position on this one. So that is that on the EURUSD. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section. So that is that on the EURUSD. So let's move on to the XAGUSD. I have 8 minutes left. So on the XAGUSD, we have quite an interesting scenario here. Yesterday we were around this point. Hold on a second. We were around here yesterday. We saw the breakout of the $21 level during the early hours of yesterday, and we were around this point. And one thing I said here is that we want to be mindful of how price action is going to be playing out at the structure. With a breakout of a key level like the $21 level, that level is a very strong and important key level. When we scale up to the daily time frame, let me show you the daily time frame here. So we have the daily time frame here, and look at how that level has been a major determinant of price action, at least in the past how many, hold on a second, let me push this out further. So since the month of February, we have seen how that level has been a major determinant of price action. So we had a breakout of the structure here during the first week of this month. We saw the breakout of that structure. Price appears to have come back to do a retest of that level here, and we started seeing buying pressure around this area in the last couple of days now, giving us a clue that we might be having buying attempts around that area. Though we've been expecting that price might likely come back into the structure, that is our plan at the beginning of the week. But when market changes, it's important that we also evolve with the movement of price action. So since we've been witnessing buying pressure right below the $21 level, which finally led to the breakout of that structure yesterday, I am of the opinion that we can be looking forward to buying opportunity. And I actually shared this on my public platform that when we see price come back to do a retest of that $21 level here, we want to be taking advantage of that buy opportunity. And this is exactly what happened here as we saw price come back into the $21 level. In fact, we had multiple rejection of that structure. Hold on a second, I want to bring this level out so that we can see. Okay, so we have, here we go. So we have the $21 level around here. So we stated that since we cited the breakout of the structure here yesterday, a couple of days ago rather, and price comes back to do a retest of structure, we want to join. So we joined here, price moved to the upside, came back into our trade entry zone, took us out of that structure. I shared this in the morning that we want to be buying right above the $21 level, and this is exactly what happened here. Price moved significantly well, and it has been in our favor since the early hours of this morning. So the next thing we want to be doing here is to lock in some profit. So at this point, I will be suggesting that we move our stop loss to break even. That is the entry zone where we enter this trade, and let's see how price action is. Currently we're running with about 175 pips in profit at this point. Move your stop loss to break even at this point, and let's see how price action is going to relate to this bearish trend line. Remember, we had this bearish trend line figured out at the beginning of the week. It has been holding selling pressure since last week, so we want to see how price actions relate with that trend line. So are we going to be having a breakout of that trend line? So let's see if a breakout retest of that structure is going to be happening during the New York session today. And if a breakout happens, a retest of the trend line followed by buying pressure right above the $21.20 level should incite a further trend continuation to the upside. So the maximum level I am placing my take profit target on the XAGUSD is the $21.80 level. And when we are buying the breakout retest of this trend line, we also want to take something into consideration, and that is the fact that price has been on a long-term bearish momentum. And remember, we identified a sell window around this area, so we want to be having our take profit target right within the sell window, as we never can tell as if price comes within this area, there is a tendency that we might be seeing selling pressure around this area that will be sending price crashing to the downside. So as a result of this, we should be having our take profit target around this area. So while we have moved our stop loss accordingly, I also want to let us know how this area has been holding selling pressure since the beginning of the week. So we saw how price came back into the $21.40 level. We saw selling pressure from that area. Price came back again during the early hours of today. We saw another selling pressure around this area, but price is yet to break down the $21 area. So as long as price remain above the $21 level, we continue to look out for buying pressure here, after which we look out for selling pressure around the sell window here to join the decline to the downside. So what happens if price does not climb up? That is, if price does not break out of the bearish trend line nor the $21.20 level. Well, if price continues to the downside, then we might be looking forward to a bearish momentum at this point. But we're going to be holding on. We're going to be very patient here as we want to see an outright breakdown of the $21 level. Remember, in the last 24 hours, we have been witnessing buying pressure around this area. So we want to see a signal that will take out all the buy position here to give us a confirmation that sellers are actually here to stay. So we don't want to get too excited at the breakdown of that structure. So what we're going to be doing is to remain patient, scale down to our lower time frame, look out for selling pressure, price coming back to do a retest of structure or probably retest of this bearish trend line, whichever it is. The most important thing we are going to be looking out for is selling pressure on the lower time frame to join the decline to the downside. So that is how we are going to be looking at the XAGUSD for today. For those who are taking advantage of this buy opportunity, kindly move your stop loss accordingly, lock in your profit so that we don't get caught out in a sudden pullback during the New York session today. And remember, we are looking forward to the FOMC, a very important key event coming up today, which is definitely going to be affecting the silver gold pair. And whatever we are seeing in the market right now is an anticipation of this major event coming up today. So let's get ourselves prepared for that. So that is that on the XAGUSD. If you have questions, feel free to drop in your inquiry in the comment section. So let's move on to the next pair. The next pair I'll be looking at is the GBPUSD. And on the GBPUSD, I told you how I have been looking for selling opportunity here on this pair, considering the fact that we have been, let's quickly run through the daily time frame here so that we can see what I'm talking about here. So we are on the daily time frame, and the first thing we observed on the daily time frame is that price action has been on a long-term bearish momentum. In fact, since the beginning of the year, we have been witnessing lower lows and lower highs, and as a result of this, we were able to identify this bearish trend line, which has been holding selling pressure since the beginning of the year. Now, the most important structure at this juncture in the market is the 1.19700 level. And if we go to as far back as the month of June, we can see how this level has been a major determinant of price action. Look at what happened here in the month of June. We saw how this level was holding buying pressure. The same thing happened here in the month of July, stroke month of August. We saw buying pressure around this area, but the pressure from buyers here wasn't as strong, as it was met with strong resistance right at the retest of this bearish trend line, after which we saw a final breakdown of that level in the month of August. And since the breakdown of this level happened in the month of August, price has continued to trade right below the 1.197 level to emphasize the strength of the sellers at this point. And in the last couple of weeks here, we can see our price has come back into the 1.19700 level. And look at what happened here. We have been witnessing a consolidation phase here, emphasizing the indecision in this market right now. So at the beginning of the week, we had two possible scenarios that might likely happen on this pair, and the first scenario is a possible situation where the selling pressure right below the 1.1970 level continues to hold sellers to the downside in such a way that we might have a situation where price comes back to do a retest of that very important key level at the 1.1400 level, which also shares a confluence with both the bearish and the bullish trend line that we have here. So we had the breakout of the bearish trend line and the key level here, and also remember we had this bullish trend line holding buying pressure since the month of September. Price might likely come back into this area to incite the second wave of the bullish momentum that started at the beginning of this month. So this is one scenario we are looking forward to. And then the other scenario that we might be looking forward to at this point is a situation where we might be having a trend continuation pattern around here. It could be a bullish rectangle pattern that might lead into a breakout on our lower time frame retest of structure to incite a trend continuation to the upside. So these are the two scenarios we are looking forward to. So at this point, it was very important that we understand what is really going on in this area right below the 1.197 level. So we want to see what this consolidation phase is evolving into. So that we can understand that, we needed to scale down to a much lower time frame, let's say the 2 hours time frame in this case. And on the 2 hours time frame, we observed how price has been caught within a consolidation phase throughout last week. So we saw the situation where price has been oscillating right within the 1.1970 level. Remember that key level we identified on the daily time frame. And then we have the support level of this channel at around the 1.17600 area. So throughout last week, we had a very choppy scenario, and as a result of this emphasized the indecision in this market. And at that point, whenever we have an indecision like this, it is important that we remain very patient to wait out for a very good signal to join either a bullish momentum or a bearish move at this point. Now, as we head into the new week, this week, we saw the situation, we saw this bearish trend line figured out here after connecting the series of lower highs since last week. And during the course of yesterday's trading session, I think since the beginning of the week, I think on Tuesday, we saw the breakout of that trend line, which I'm not sure if this is going to be a false breakout or a true breakout at this point. Now, another parameter that we are using as our guide is this bullish trend line here, which has been respected since the beginning of the month. We can see we have been witnessing bullish momentum since the beginning of the month. So it's important that we remain very, very patient here, as a breakout of this trend line would give us a bullish signal, and we want to be patient enough to wait for price to come back to either do a retest of the 1.19 area here. That is the resistant level of this channel since the beginning of the week. This is where price started the week at. Price started the week at around the 1.1900 level here, and price was trading right below this level before we witnessed the breakout of the structure during the early hours of today. So at this point, I'm not sure if this is going to be a true breakout or a false breakout. So what we are going to be looking forward to is a significant breakout of that structure to give us a signal, taking out all the sell position that has been holding this area since the beginning of the week. So if a breakout happens, retest of that structure should give us a leverage to join a rally to the upside. And if that does not happen, we might be having price come back to do a retest of the bearish trend line that was broken here yesterday. So we might be having a retest of that structure, and if you look closely into what is happening here, you can see that that structure also lines up with that bullish trend line that has been holding bullish momentum since the beginning of the month. So we might be seeing buying pressure around this area to incite another wave of a bullish momentum. So these are the scenarios we are going to be looking forward to during the New York session today. So at this point, I would advise us to remain patient. Let's see how price action is going to relate to this current structure. So we already have price breaking above the 1.19 level. So I want to see a retest of that structure to give me a leverage to join the rally to the upside. So for this one now, I wouldn't be selling unless price comes back below this bearish trend line in such a way that we have the situation to push price further to the downside. That's the only scenario that I will be looking forward to selling opportunities here on the GBPUSD. Now, hold on a second. Let's scale down to the 50 minutes time frame. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, so we are on the 15 minutes time frame here, and remember we had this 1.19 level figured out. So let me bring that a little closer into our purview. So we have the 1.190 level here. So well, we can still consider the 1.190 level here if we cite a breakdown retest of that structure. So if a breakdown retest of the structure happen, there is still a tendency that price might likely go to the downside. So if we join a breakdown retest of the structure on lower time frame, as soon as price gets into the trend line that was broken yesterday here, we'll move our stop loss accordingly to protect our position, as we want to see how price action will relate to the structure. And if it goes on to further break down this level, then we want to be confirming that we are in for a sell. And if we start seeing a reversal pattern here, then we know that buyers have come to stay, so we get ready to buy. Price takes us out of our sell position and price continue to the upside, retest of structure, then we continue to join the rally to the upside. So this is how we want to be trading the GBPUSD for today. Then we went on to talk about the XAUUSD, which is the last pair how we'll be treating for today. And what is the scenario we have here on the GBP, on the XAUUSD? Remember that yesterday we were running with over 1,000 pips in profit, and I told you to move your stop loss accordingly so that you can lock in some profit. Remember, and we can see our price took us out of this position around here. So I think we had about about 500, okay, about 600 pips there about when price took us out of that position. And luckily enough for us, the market presented us with another opportunity to join that decline to the downside. Remember, I told you yesterday that a breakdown of the 1744 level is a very good sign that sellers are very strong in this market. And I told you that for those who had missed out on that opportunity, that if we see a retest of the structure, it's a very good opportunity for us to join this trade. And for those who are already in this trade, it's an opportunity to add more position to this trade. And this is exactly what happened during the early hours of today. We saw price come back into the 1744 level, and since then price has been dropping to the downside from this area. So if you are joined again this morning, kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of this bearish move. So what we want to be doing at this point is to move our stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit. So at this point we are running with over 800 pips in profit, so I will be suggesting that you move your stop loss right above the $1,740 level. Let's lock in some profit here, and let's see how price action will be playing out in the next couple of hours, especially in anticipation of the FOMC, which is coming up in 6-7 hours from now. Now, for those who have missed out on this opportunity here, well, the next thing that we should be doing here is to remain very patient. We want to see price break down the $1,730 level to give us a bearish signal. And why have I said that? The reason is simply because of the fact that this level has been holding buying pressure since the later part, since the beginning of this week. We have been seeing buying pressure right above the $1,730 level, giving us a clue that there are traces of buyers at that area in the market. So we want to see a breakdown of the structure, taking out all the buy position here to give us a signal that sellers are actually coming here to stay. Remember, we are not getting too excited at the sight of such a signal. We want to be patient enough to wait out for signals which might likely come in the form of a retest of structure on our lower time frame to join the decline to the downside. So this is how we want to be selling the XAUUSD during the New York session today. And our take profit target still remains right around the $1,724 level and the $1,680 area. So we have a huge buy TP target area to take advantage of the selling opportunity. And remember, we identified that TP target area as a possible buy zone, as I think that we are going through a retracement of this impulsive move that started last week, sorry, a couple of weeks ago. So I'm seeing this as a retracement of that impulse leg. So I will be looking forward to see how price action will be relating to either the trend line here or the key level at the 1,680 level. And if I start seeing buying pressure around that area, I want to be getting ready to join the second wave of that bullish momentum. So that is the first scenario that we are going to be looking forward to sell the XAUUSD for today. Please ensure your stop loss is moved accordingly. You've locked in your profit here. Then the other scenario that we might be looking forward to on the XAUUSD is a possible breakout of the 1,744 level. Remember, this level is the resistant level of the channel that started this week. So at the beginning of the week, we saw price consolidate between the 1,753 and the 1,744 level before we witnessed that breakdown of that structure here, the retest that sent price crashing to the downside. So if price climbs above that structure again here, then taking us out of our sell position, well, that might likely be a counter trend opportunity after a retest of structure here, might likely send price back into the sell window that we identified here. Remember, we had this reversal pattern figured out at the beginning of the week, and then we saw the breakdown of that neckline at the 1755 level. So there is a tendency that if a breakout of the $1744 happens, we might be seeing a move right back into either the sell window here or the neckline here, followed by selling pressure. Then we could join that decline to the downside. So if you are a counter trend trader, you are a scalper, you are comfortable taking short-term trades, well, you might want to take advantage of the breakout retest of the structure to the upside. But if you are not, please stay out of this trade. Hold on. If we cite a breakout of the structure, just hold on and wait for buyers to push price back into either the neckline here or the sell window here before the sell momentum happens. So that is how we want to be doing the XAUUSD for today, and on this note I want to be calling it a day. But before I do, let's quickly run through do a quick recap of the pairs we looked at today and what our expectations are on all of this pair before I close the session. So I can see Innocent Babe, can we treat hold before we, and hold on, Innocent Babe, I'm not okay. Can we treat gold? I don't think I understand that sentence. Can we treat gold before we, okay, before we end the session? Of course, I just did. Innocent Babe, I hope you are still in here to witness the analysis on gold. Are you still there? Kindly confirm you are still there, please. All right, so let's quickly do a quick recap of what our expectations are for today. So the first pair we looked at today is the USOil, and lo and behold, we have been taken out of the buy position we are in this morning. So we have closed the buy position at break even. So the next thing we want to be doing right now is to be looking for selling opportunities at this point, as we already have a bearish signal which have broken out of that bullish trend line that we were able to identify yesterday. So we already have a breakdown of that structure. So if you had actually joined from that level, well, kudos to you. This move is about 160 pips. Well, if you had missed it anyway, let's see if the market is going to be presenting us with another opportunity to join this decline. So we are going to be looking at a possible situation where price comes back to do a retest of the $81.10 level, followed by selling pressure on our lower time frame to join that decline to the downside. So that is one scenario we are going to be looking forward to. Or price comes back into the $80 level, or we could be having a situation where we have a trend continuation pattern around this area in the form of a consolidation phase between the $80 and the $79 level before the breakdown retest of the $79 area will be sending price crashing further to the downside. So these are the scenarios we are going to be looking forward to at this point. So right now, with the present scenario we have here, we want to be looking for selling opportunities. All buying expectation is going to be put on hold at this point. The only time we are going to be buying the US oil is to see if price breaks out of this bearish trend line that we have here. Remember, we had this bearish trend line that has been holding selling pressure in the last couple of weeks now. So the only thing that will make us to buy the US oil at this point is to look out for a breakout of that structure, taking out all the sell position that is here to give us that very good signal, a retest of structure. Then we could be looking out for buying pressure to join that rally to the upside. So if this doesn't happen, we continue to look out for selling opportunities right within this level. So that is that on the US oil. Then we went on to talk about the US tech, and on the US tech, okay, you're welcome, Innocent Paper, right? Glad you are still around. All right, so the US tech here, we already have a situation running here since yesterday, which I told you, and currently we are running on our first position. We are running with about 130 pips in profit, and I've told you to move your stop loss accordingly, which is somewhere below the $11,700 area, to negate all selling pressure that might come in at this point in time. Then we took advantage of this opportunity here during the early hours of today, and I've told you to move your stop loss to break even at this point, so that if price takes us out of our position, we will be closing that position at break even. Then one thing I stated here is that buying above the 11,725 is another risk that is worth taking at this point. Let's see how that plays out, if it's going to run in our favor or not, and if it doesn't, it's okay. We still have other opportunities to take advantage of this. So if this bearish momentum continues now in such a way that we have a breakdown of that very important key level at the $11,700 level, then I might be seeing this as a retracement move. A retest of structure should welcome an opportunity to sell the US tech to the downside. A take profit target around the demand zone should be most appropriate at this point, and as price continue to move in our favor, we continue to move our stop loss accordingly, as I'm thinking that price might come back into either this level here at the $11,500 area before the second wave of another bullish momentum happen. That is one scenario. Or price might likely come back into the $11,600 level here, followed by buying pressure to join that rally to the upside. So these are the scenarios I'm looking forward to. So if a breakdown of the 11,700 happens, we want to be selling at a retest of structure with a take profit target right within this level here, and we move our stop loss accordingly as price action moves in that favor. But if price does not do that and price continue to trade above the $11,725 level, we want to be comfortable in our buy position. So that is that on the US tech. Then we went on to talk about the EURUSD today, and on the EURUSD, I told you how I continue to look out for selling opportunities here on the EURUSD, and the area below the 1.03150 level is an area I said we can be looking forward for selling opportunities. And I told you that those who are worried that buyers have come into this market, I have told you that I'm going to be seeing this buying momentum that started on Tuesday as a retracement of this impulse leg that we have here. So even if we have a breakout of this bearish trend line, we still have a sell window right around the 1.03750 level. Remember that level has been holding selling pressure for quite a while on the EURUSD on the daily time frame, so there's still a likelihood that we might be having selling pressure from that area, and if price does not go that far below the 1.03150 is a very, very good area to be selling the EURUSD. So if price continues to the downside in such a way that we have a breakdown of this bullish trend line, breakdown of the 1.02700 level, a retest of structure followed by selling pressure right below that bearish trend line, is another good opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. So this is how we are looking at the EURUSD for today. We are still looking at a selling opportunity here, and don't let us get carried away with the bullish momentum that we have been witnessing since the beginning of the week. It is more or less looking like a retracement phase to me at this point, unless we sight a breakout of the 1.03750. A buying opportunity is still not very promising at this point. Then we went on to talk about the XAGUSD, that is the silver. And on the silver, I told you how we took advantage of a buying opportunity during the early hours of today. I will take advantage of a buy opportunity right above the $21 level, a very important key level that we identified on the daily time frame, remember. And I told you that anything right above this level is a very good area to be holding on to our buy opportunity. So I've told you to move your stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit here, as we want to see how price action will be relating with this bearish trend line, which also shares a confluence with the zone around the $21.20 level and the $21.40 area. So if a breakout of the structure happens, a retest of this level followed by buying pressure, we might want to be adding more position to this trade. And there is a catch here. that if we are buying again, adding more position here, we should take into consideration the sell window we have identified here. So our take profit target should be around this area. So as soon as we enter this buy position here and price continue to move in our favor, we want to move our stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit, as there is still a tendency that sellers are still coming in on this market. So if price continues to the upside into around this area and we start seeing selling pressure around this area or a reversal pattern, we want to be joining that decline to the downside. So that is how we want to be trading this one if a breakout retest of the zone between the 2120 and the 2140 area happens. However, if price does not go further to the upside and price continues to drop further to the downside, well, in such a way that we have price take us out of our buy position at probably break even or whatever desired profit you had locked your price at, and price breaks down that $21 level, well, at this point I want to be seeing this as a bearish signal, and I told you that we want to be patient enough to wait out for a confirmation to happen, which might likely come in the form of either a retest of the $21 area or this bearish trend line. Look out for selling pressure on lower time frame, then we could join that decline to the downside. So that is how we want to be trading the XAGUSD for today. Then we went on to look at the GBPUSD, which is another pair I'm looking forward to selling opportunity here. But we have been noticing bullish momentum in the last 24 hours here, as price finally broke out of that bearish trend line that has been holding selling pressure since last week. And we also saw another breakout of that 1.1900 level, giving us a candle pushing price to the upside. At this point, I'm not in any position right now. Remember, we were closed with some profit here yesterday, and so we continue to look out for signals in the form of one. We are looking forward to price coming back into the 1.19 area. If we comes back here and we start seeing buying pressure around this area, then we want to be joining that bullish momentum to the upside. And if we join that bullish momentum to the upside, and as soon as price gets into the 1.19700 level, we want to block in our profit at this point, as we don't know how price action will be relating to this level. And if a breakout of that level happens, a retest of structure should be giving us another opportunity to add more position to this trade. So to sell the GBPUSD, what we are going to be looking forward to is a breakdown of the 1.1900 level, retest of structure, then we could actually join that decline to the downside. And if we are selling as price breaks down that 1.1900 level, I have told you that as soon as price gets into this trend line, we want to be moving our stop loss accordingly, locking some profits here, as we don't know how price action will relate to the structure. It could turn out to be buying pressure around this area to incite another wave of a bullish momentum, which will line up with a technical perspective of a breakout retest of the structure to push price to the upside. So we want to get ready for that as well. But if price breaks down that trend line in such a way that price breaks it down, retest that structure, then we want to be very confident in our sell position by adding more position to this trade. And a further breakdown of the 1.176 level is another good area to add more position to this trade. So that is that on the GBPUSD. Then we went on to close the day with the XAUUSD, which is the gold. And on the gold, we are profitable on the gold. We closed with about 500 pips yesterday, and as at present we are running with about 800 pips again, with a total of 1,300 pips so far for this week. And I have told you to move your stop loss accordingly to around the 1,740 level, as we want to protect our position against any sudden pullback that might happen at this point. And for those who missed out on this opportunity right below the 1,744 level here, I have told you that we want to remain patient. Let's see if price action will take out all the buy position that we have noticed around the $1,730 level during the course of the New York session today. So if we have a breakdown of that structure, well, then a retest of structure should be giving us an opportunity to add position to this trade. But if price does not go to the downside and the $1,730 level continue to hold buying pressure, well, a breakout of the 1,744 level taking us out of our sell position. Retest of structure is a welcome scenario for counter trend traders or scalpers. Look out for buying pressure, then you could join the rally into that sell window we have identified here. Remember, we had the reversal pattern figured out here at the beginning of the week. We saw the breakdown of the reversal pattern at the neckline at the 1755 level, and whenever we have a breakdown of a structure like this, we expect that one point in time price is likely going to come back, do a retest of that structure. So if you join a counter trend to the upside here, well, move your stop loss accordingly, as we might be seeing selling pressure coming around the 1775 level to the downside, or within the sell window we have identified within the $1,765 area to push price to the downside. So these are the scenarios we are going to be looking at on the XAUUSD. So on this note, I would like to call it a day. I hope the session today was a little bit helpful in making your own individual decision as we continue to monitor price action. Remember, we don't want to get too excited whenever we sight a signal. We want to scale down immediately to our lower time frame, look out for rejections, retest of structure, then we want to be joining either the rally or the decline at that point. So on this note, I want to wish you best of luck during the New York session today. And remember, the economic event coming up, durable goods order coming up in how many hours from now? That's an hour from now. Then we have the non-defense capital goods coming up in an hour from now as well. Then we have the FOMC coming up in 7 hours from now. So we want to anticipate all these events. So ensure you lock you're locking your profit prior to this event, so that we don't get caught up in any sudden pullback that might likely happen around that area. So on this note, I want to wish you best of luck. Do have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you same time on the Extreme Speed Live app here, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time, and let's come here again to review all the pairs we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week, and let's plan against tomorrow's New York session as usual. Do have a wonderful day. Bye bye.